Inside Osiris Capital Trading Desk, every trader eventually reaches the same wall. They can explain a breakout, describe a proper stop, and recite the rule about cutting a loser fast. And none of that knowledge survives contact with an open position that has just turned against them. That gap between knowing the right move and actually making it is the single most expensive gap in trading. A course ends on its final module and leaves a trader alone with the theory the moment real money starts moving. A signal service hands over an entry typed by a stranger who cannot see the trader's account and has no idea whether they are already rattled from a recent loss. Neither one is in the room at the narrow window between the trigger and the click, where fear, hope, or the need to be right quietly takes the wheel. Osiris Desk was built for exactly that moment. Not a course, not a signal, not a black box. Osiris Desk is not a course because a course finishes the day someone buys it, while the market never finishes with anyone. It is not a signal service because a signal is an instruction from someone else's account, and following one teaches a trader nothing beyond how to wait for the next instruction. Nor is it a black box, since a black box hands down a verdict with no visible reasoning, leaving a trader with nothing to learn from. Osiris Desk is a live mentor instead. It sits with a trader through the session the way an experienced trader would sit beside a newer one, reading the same tape and saying out loud what a professional would be thinking. It does not hand over a decision. It builds the judgment that lets a trader make that decision alone, one session at a time, until the mentors read and the trader's own instinct become hard to tell apart. What it knows. A mentor is only as good as what it has actually studied. Osiris Desk's education runs deep, built on the canon that shaped modern trading, the psychology of the discretionary trade, the arithmetic of position sizing, and the behavioral patterns behind why the crowd keeps making the same mistakes in every generation. That library is not decoration sitting behind the product. It is the lens Osiris Desk reasons through every time it speaks, the same way an experienced colleague reaches for a principle instead of a guess. None of that would matter without the other half of its education, the market itself, read in the moment rather than recalled from a textbook. Osiris Desk holds the trader's open positions, the levels that matter for the session, the shape of the tape as it prints, and the news calendar that can turn a quiet morning violent, all of it current and updating together. It holds the distilled judgment of the great traders in one hand and the market itself in the other, and only speaks when the two agree. The grade before the opening bell. Before the first price prints for the day, Osiris Desk has already done the preparation a professional does before the market opens. It maps the levels that matter for the major indices, the previous day's high-low and closing price, the overnight high and low, and the extremes the session has already carved out. Then it grades each of those levels by how often the market has tested it and turned away, because a level the market keeps defending carries far more weight than one nobody has touched. Then it reads the open itself. The first minutes of a session have a shape, and that shape is information. A strong push away from the mapped levels tells a different story than a market that opens, stalls, and drifts back into yesterday's range. Osiris Desk reads that shape and calls the day, a trend from the open or a range-bound session, and carries that call into everything that follows. So the trader spends the morning working with the character of the day, instead of arguing against it. Setups named as they form. Osiris Desk carries a deep vocabulary of professional setups, patterns experienced discretionary traders have relied on for decades. A failed breakout that reverses hard, a pullback that holds a key level and resumes the trend, all of it lives in its working vocabulary. The instant one of those patterns forms, Osiris Desk names it out loud. It never says buy or sell. That instruction belongs to the trader alone, always. Instead, it states a conditional plan in plain terms. If price does this, the entry sits here, the stop sits there, and the target sits at this level, with the risk and the reward stated plainly enough that the decision is fully informed. It draws that bracket onto the live chart as it happens, so the plan is visible and it keeps a record of every call. Later, once the outcome is known, Osiris Desk scores its own call against what price actually did. That habit of grading itself is not a courtesy. It is the same discipline it demands of the trader, applied to the mentor first, so the relationship is honest in both directions before it ever asks for anyone's trust. the instant a position opens. The moment a trade opens, Osiris Desk changes what it is doing on that market, immediately and completely. It stops hunting for new setups there and moves entirely into coaching the position that already exists. From that point, everything it says about that market concerns the trade in front of the trader, whether to trail the stop, press the winner, or cut the position cleanly, and nothing else. This single switch matters because a tool that keeps flashing new signals while someone holds an open trade is competing for the same attention that trade actually needs. Osiris Desk treats an open position as the only thing worth discussing on that symbol until the trade is done, which is exactly how a disciplined professional treats it too. Adding to strength, never to hope. When a position is working, Osiris Desk coaches the disciplined way to press it. It never suggests adding to a loser in the hope the market turns around, because that is not pyramiding, that is hoping with extra size attached. It only ever coaches adding into strength once the market has already proven the original idea correct, and every add is coached smaller than the one before it. The entire stack, the original entry and every add layered on top of it, sits under one protective stop. So pressing a winner never quietly turns into an unprotected bet. It is the same principle the great trend followers built entire careers on, applied here just as strictly. Grading the trade on 5 axes. Once a trade is finished, Osiris Desk grades it on 5 separate axes: the context it was taken in, the setup itself, the entry, the management of the position while it was open, and the exit. The overall grade is not an average of the 5. It takes the weakest one, because a brilliant entry followed by panicked management is not a good trade with a minor flaw. It is a trade that failed at management, and averaging the score would hide the lesson worth learning. The grading only ever judges process, never the outcome, and hindsight is banned outright. A losing trade taken correctly, on a valid setup, with the size and the stop both right, still earns a good grade, because that loss was the honest cost of doing business properly. A winning trade taken on a chase with an oversized position still earns a poor one, because it got paid this time for a decision that will not keep paying. After the grade, Osiris Desk asks 3 simple questions about what happened and why, while the trade is still fresh enough to answer honestly. And at day's end it writes the session review itself, so an honest record exists whether or not the trader has the energy left to write one. The discipline cycle. Osiris Desk runs a discipline cycle across a trader's sessions, a count that climbs with every clean, planned trade taken exactly as designed. A single broken rule does not just cost the trade it happened on, it resets the whole count back to the start, because discipline behaves like a streak rather than an average, and a streak means one lapse costs everything built before it. Every slip gets named specifically: the chase, the moved stop, the size that quietly grew past the plan, and its cost gets logged in plain money rather than vague regret. Watching that figure accumulate across weeks changes behavior more than being told to show more discipline ever could, because it turns an abstract virtue into a number a trader can actually see. The leaks it catches before the click. Every trader repeats the same handful of mistakes, and most never notice the pattern because each one feels like a fresh decision in the moment. Osiris Desk learns a trader's specific recurring leaks over time: the chase into a move that has already run, the stop quietly moved to give a losing trade more room, the revenge entry taken to get back at the market right after a loss, and keeps a private record of each one. The value sits entirely in the timing. Osiris Desk warns out loud before the click, while the mistake is still cheap and still avoidable, rather than afterward, when the only thing left to do is grade the damage. Catching a leak before it costs money is worth more than explaining it well after the fact. The arithmetic of risk. Underneath every session sits a layer of plain arithmetic that Osiris Desk enforces without exception. There is a strict cap on what any single trade is allowed to cost, a hard limit on how much the account can give up in one day before trading stops entirely, and a sizing check on every position before it goes on, so the size in front of the trader always matches the risk they intended to take. None of this is offered as gentle advice. It is the same arithmetic that keeps a professional trading desk solvent through the losing streak that eventually arrives, applied automatically, so one bad decision on one bad day can never become the decision that ends the account. Numbers in real time. Everything Osiris Desk says is anchored to numbers read at that exact moment, never a level remembered from yesterday's chart or a price quietly going stale in the background. It watches the news calendar alongside the tape, because a perfectly good setup can turn into a trap the instant a major release hits. When it is connected to a professional trader's live feed, it factors that trader's known behavior and weak spots into what it chooses to say, rather than reciting a generic script written for everyone. It speaks within seconds of a genuine trigger, in a calm, even voice that does not rise with the market's excitement or panic alongside its drops, because a mentor swept up with the trader is not actually helping them. Every price it acts on is written to a silent record as it happens, building an honest history of the session that memory and emotion cannot rewrite afterward. A hand that never touches the trigger. Through all of it, Osiris Desk never once touches the trigger itself. It does not place a trade, modify one, or send an order on anyone's behalf under any circumstance. It reads, it grades, it coaches, and it speaks, and the hand on the trigger belongs to the trader in every single instance. That is not a limitation. Against a signal service that effectively trades a stranger's opinion through someone else's account, it is the entire point. Osiris Desk makes the trader sharper. It never makes the trader's decisions for them. Why it will not sell a promise. Osiris Desk will not quote a win rate, and it will not promise a mechanical edge, because both are the exact currency the guru economy trades in, and both are nearly meaningless on their own. A real edge does not live in a number on a landing page. It lives in discretion and discipline, applied consistently, trade after trade. Osiris Desk treats its own back-tested research the same honest way, as research to be studied and questioned, never as a promise sold to a customer. That honesty is the whole point of building it this way. The paid course, the signal channel, and the guru selling certainty all profit from a trader staying dependent, never quite able to walk away. Osiris Desk was built to do the opposite. Its entire purpose is making a trader into the professional, someone who can read their own levels, grade their own process, and hold their own discipline, rather than renting someone else's decisions one call at a time. A funded challenge account gives it a genuine professional venue to operate in, real rules and real consequences, not a marketing trophy claiming a track record it has not yet earned. The flagship of Osiris Capital. The vision behind Osiris Desk is simple to state and hard to build. Give every serious trader the kind of mentor that used to belong only to a trading floor. Someone experienced standing beside them through the actual session, rather than a manual read once and shelved. Markets do not reward people who merely understand the theory. They reward the people who can execute it under real pressure, a skill built through repetition, with the right voice in the room, not bought with a single course fee. Osiris Desk is the flagship product of Osiris Capital, built for traders who have decided to stop renting other people's decisions and start building their own judgment instead. It reads the market the way a professional does, it coaches the way a mentor does, and it leaves the decision exactly where it belongs, in the trader's own hand. Master the mindset, manage the trade, that is the whole discipline, and it is what Osiris Desk exists to help a trader do, one session at a time.